All right, everybody. We are going to be going over angle side angle and angle side. So these are two more shortcuts to prove triangles are congruent. So very similar to side and side angle side, but now we have two new ones. Okay. So let's read through this quick. It says if two angles and the included side of one triangle are congruent to two angles and the included side of a second triangle, then those two triangles are congruent. Well, a few things in just in that sentence, you guys. Will you please outline, circle the word included and included? That's huge, okay? That's how you tell the difference between the angle side angle and angle side. What we mean by included is it's the side between your two congruent angles. So that'll be demonstrated in a second here. But first, let's fill in our example, okay? So angle A is congruent to which angle in our second triangle? Yep, angle D. Perfect. Side AB is congruent to side ED. And angle B is congruent to angle E. So now we can go around and say triangle ABC is congruent to triangle A matches D, B matches E, and C matches F. I know mine don't really line up like yours, but do your best. I should have left more space. So now this included angle idea. So do you guys see how here's an angle congruence that we know, and here's an angle congruence that we know, right? Now the side between them, right? That side's between those two angles, that side's between these two angles, that's our included side. So I could show you like this right here, FD, would not be the included side because it's not between these two angles, right? Those are the two angles I know stuff about. It's this guy and this guy. So this is not the included side. This one is here. So that's why it's angle side angle. So now if you label angle marking, side marking, angle marking, angle marking, side marking, angle side angle. Okay? So let's try some proofs with this new shortcut, okay? Write a two-column proof given the following information. So again, we always want to mark our picture. Okay? So QS bisects angle PQR. So here's angle PQR. It's that corner angle over there by Q. And if I'm bisecting it, remember we're creating two equal angles. So I'm going to mark it and I'm going to mark it. Didn't really turn out as well as I wanted, but those are my, well, let's try one more time. This angle and this guy. Yep, those two angles are congruent. And then we're told angle PSQ, trace it out, find P, go to S, go to Q. So this guy is congruent to angle RSQ. So what's the only piece of information we need to figure out on our own? We have an angle marking. We have two different angle markings. Do they share anything? I'm hoping you're thinking yes, they both have SQ. So now we know both of those triangles are congruent by angle side angle. So I'm already going to put that on the bottom. I already know that's true. So now let's go through and fill out our proof. We know the first parts are givens. Now why is angle PQS congruent to angle RQS? That's our definition of an angle bisector. QS is congruent to QS. Well, that's our favorite property, the reflexive property. And there we go. We're done. We figured it out. Let's try another one. We're told that XZ bisects angle WXY and XZ bisects angle YXW. Hopefully this works a little bit better than my last marking did. All right, remember, we're bisecting an angle, we're getting two congruent ones. So our first angle that's being bisected is WZY. WZY is this corner angle here. So I'm going to start with that. I'm going to put that in my given. Bisects angle WZY. Okay, so because I know that, what two things are now equal? Well, now I know that this angle here and this angle here are congruent. That's our given. So now we got to use three letters when we label that, right, you guys? Because we have two angles coming from there. So the first one would be angle WZX is congruent to angle YZX. What's our reason? Definition of an angle bisector. All right, let's look at our next chunk of information we're given. We're given that XZ bisects angle WYXW. So this angle in the corner is getting cut in half. All right, XZ bisects angle YXW. Given information. Now, what two angles are equal? Well, we know that this guy right here is now congruent to this guy right there. So let's label those. So angle WXZ is congruent to angle YXZ. Reason? Definition of an angle bisector. Okay, so we have two pairs of angle congruents, right? Here's an angle, there's an angle marking. Is there anything that they share, anything that we know just by looking at our picture? I'm hoping you're seeing that both these triangles share this side in the middle, right? So we can say ZX is congruent to ZX. Again, our favorite property, the reflexive property. Congruent. So now finally we can say, oh, we guys add a step. I must put both of my givens together on the notes. Our last one should say triangle WXZ is congruent to triangle YXZ. By what shortcut? Angle, side, angle. Good work. Okay. Let's try some angle side congruence. So very similar to angle side angle, but the order of our congruent parts are different, okay? So it says if two angles and the non-included side of one triangle are congruent to the corresponding two angles and the side of a second triangle, then those triangles are congruent. Key word on this one is it's not the included side. So we do not want it between our two congruent angles, okay? So angle A is congruent to angle D. Angle B is congruent to angle E. And then side BC is congruent to side FE. Okay, so if you are having a situation like this where you have an angle marking, and a side marking, angle marking, angle marking, and a side, you have angle, side. So in this situation here, triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF. Angle, side. Okay, let's try a few proofs with this idea, okay? All right, folks. Well, it looks like I put both of my givens on the first line, so let's kind of talk about what they are. So it says RQ is congruent to ST, which they already have marked for us. And then we're also told that RQ is parallel. Remember, this means parallel to ST. So let's write that down in our first spot here. Okay, so that's our free information. So the side congruence is awesome. That's giving us our S, our side marking. Now we basically need to find our two angles essentially, right? So what do parallel lines give us? So if you think back to like the beginning of November, parallel lines will give us some kind of congruent angles. Hopefully you're thinking like alternate interior angles. So like this angle right here, angle Q, is alternate interior to angle S. And since those two lines are parallel, those two angles would be congruent because they're alternate interior angle. So I'm going to say alternate interior angles congruent when lines are parallel. So I'm abbreviating a little bit, you can too, but we know alternate interior angles are congruent when lines are parallel. Okay, so there's an angle marking. So now we're still just missing one more angle. And whenever you see like this bow tie look, right? Do you guys see how there's like a big bow tie in that picture? You should always think vertical angles, right? Here's a vertical angle to this guy. They're vertical angles. So we have to use 3 letters when we name them because there's multiple angles coming from you. So the angle RUQ is congruent to angle TUS. And you're going to write vertical angles congruent. So now finally we can say triangle RUQ is congruent to triangle TUS by angle, side. Perfect. Now this next one looks so much scarier than it is, but if you notice there's only 3 steps if you put both of your givens on the same line. So I think that's what the hardest part is, like, what are you trying to prove? Where are my triangles? So I think it's easier when you have overlapping triangles to draw them separately. So let's draw out triangle ACD. So this helps my brain. So these are the 3 points that are forming my triangle. So I'm going to kind of mimic that right here. Okay. Label them A, D, C. Okay, there's my one triangle. Triangle ECB. This guy, and this guy. E, B, C. Now I promise, even though they don't look congruent based on my drawing, it's helpful that you drew them out separately. So let's first see what our givens say. So it says angle DAC is congruent to angle BEC. So I'm going to write that down first, and then we're going to mark it on our picture. Okay, angle DAC. So trace it out, you guys. D to A to C. So that's this angle here is congruent to angle BEC. B to E to C is this angle right here. Okay. Then we're also told that DC is congruent to BC. So let's find it. Here's DC. This side is congruent to BC. All right, that was all free information. So now, folks, we know we're trying to show these 2 triangles in the end are congruent, so I'm going to put that here. I know this is my final step, but what piece of information don't I have? Well, when you look at your pictures here, I always like telling you, right, do they share anything? Is there anything in common? Do they have any letters the same? And I'm hoping you're thinking they both have angle C, right? Do you guys see how both triangles have angle C? They both involve this corner angle here. So this angle C is congruent to this angle C. So we're going to say angle C is congruent to angle C by the reflexive property. So now when you go around, angle marking, side marking, check over here, angle marking, side. So these 2 triangles are congruent by angle, side. That was a bit of a tough one. Okay, last part, probably the easiest part of the whole thing, since it's 8, not a proof, but we just have to decide, are the triangles congruent by angle, side, angle, or angle, side? Okay, here we go. So let's label what they give us. We have a side marking, we have an angle marking. Do we know anything else? Well, in the middle, we always know we're going to have vertical angles when we have that bow tie. So there's another angle marking. So are these two triangles congruent? Yep, by angle, angle, side. All right, next one here. Angle marking, angle marking. Do they share anything? They share that middle side, right? Right here. So that's a side. So angle, side, angle. Next one. Angle marking, angle marking, angle marking. All right, do you guys see how those are all angle markings? Is AAA a way to prove triangles congruent? Nope. So you can put not possible, not congruent, whatever your heart wants. Okay, you guys try these last three on your own, see how they go, pause the video, and then check your work with mine, okay? Okay, on this next one, I have an angle marking and a right angle marking, and they share that middle side, so angle, side, angle. This guy down here, side marking to match these two sides. Is SS enough information? Nope, so not congruent. And then our last one here, we have an angle marking, an angle marking. Do they share anything? They share this side here. So angle, angle, side. All right. Good work, folks. Thank you for watching. Tune in next time. Toodaloo. Goodbye.